What is up, guys? It is really good to be back in the studio making another video for you all to enjoy, and it has been a little while. I'm just so slow with editing the videos that I've been working on, but we're back at it and I'm starting to get a little bit faster and just better at the whole process. So today, if you can't tell, it's another Lego day. Still have the sets behind me. In fact, my last video I was building that bad boy. That's Jango Fett's starship right behind me. And today we're going to be building another Ultimate Collector Series set, which is the most recent iteration of the Star Wars TIE Interceptor. And there's a lot to talk about with this set. I'm going to save that to talk about while I'm building. But there's been a lot of iterations of TIE fighters through the years. And the TIE fighter is a Imperial starship, fighter ship that is near and dear to my heart, because those are some of my earliest Lego memories. So I think it all kind of really starts with this guy right here. And this was not originally mine. It was given to my older brother when I was probably like 3, 4, or 5. I think it was debuted in like 2006. So that's about when he would have gotten it. And he later gave it to me. And you can see it's been played with. It's very dusty. There's pieces missing all over it, you know. It's kind of a hack job, and it's a shame that I've lost so many pieces, but I really enjoyed it, and it was just so much fun, just really swooshable, you know. You could fly this thing. Just a great set, and the blue pieces to me are so iconic because that's what Lego was doing a long time ago. I'll talk about why later. But then when I was old enough to start getting my own Legos, I actually was given a TIE Advanced model, which is Darth Vader's TIE fighter. Put a picture of it up here. And that was my favorite Lego set for ages and ages. And I remember still, one day I walked in my room, I was a little kid, and it had fallen off my shelf and it was just broken on the ground. And I never did put it back together again. I still have most of the pieces somewhere, but I think I need to get a new one and put it back together. So maybe that'll be a future video. Okay, moving on. Right here we have a small play set. This is the TIE Bomber, and it came with a couple of minifigures, and it's very small, very playable. It was an easy and fun build, and it just turned out great. And I just liked it. It just appealed to me because I like TIE fighters, and I might be working for the Emperor and the Empire. So this was my most recent TIE fighter build. As you can see, it is another Interceptor, and it was fantastic. It turned out so well, very playable, like it was a great build. And I've just noticed over time how much sturdier TIE fighters have gotten, you know, just the engineering behind it, and as well as like the panel gaps and the techniques used to assemble these sets. They're just incredible, and this one is, you know, fantastic. It just looks amazing. But those are all just regular play sets, okay? This right here is an Ultimate Collector Series set. And so I'm expecting that this is gonna far surpass and exceed anything that I've previously built as far as TIE fighters are concerned. So let's get into this build. And we are off to the races. If you guys follow the channel as you should, then you'll know that my first attempt at a Lego video kind of sucked. Luckily, I was able to fix all of the problems for this video, so I hope you guys enjoy. Right from the get-go, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the TIE Interceptor and TIE fighters generally, so I want to give you guys some of the lore. So first up, what is a TIE fighter? What does TIE even mean? So TIE is an acronym that actually stands for Twin Ion Engine, and there are different kinds of fighters and bombers, and we first see a TIE fighter in the original trilogy, A New Hope, And then we first see a TIE Interceptor in The Return of the Jedi. And TIE, along with being an acronym, is also kind of symbolic because George Lucas thought that TIE fighters looked kind of like a bow tie, where you have the knot in the middle and then the wings on the side. And the main characteristics of a TIE fighter are that they're short range, they don't have a hyperdrive, which means they can't make the leap into hyperspace, and they have no shields, so they're very fragile. Despite all that though, they're heavily armed, they accelerate quickly, and they're very dangerous to any of the enemies of the Empire. So we've seen lots of different TIE fighters through the years in all the Star Wars franchise movies, as well as the licensed Lego products. One of the more interesting things that I discovered as I was doing research for this video is that ion engines actually exist, and we actually use them in space. I'm going to link a video up at the top for you guys to watch if you are interested in learning more about ion engines, but the basic principle is that it can provide a small amount of long-term propulsion by creating a pressure of ions that are then released in space. So while the propulsion system is not powerful enough to break the forces of gravity or anything like that, it is able to propel and do fine maneuvering and slow acceleration movements in space for things like satellites and explorers, as well as even like larger things such as the space station. So the main use for ion engines is going to be propulsion and steering. And like I said, it's low acceleration, it's not very powerful, but I just did find it fascinating that the technology actually exists, or at least the idea of an ion engine. In the beginning of the video, I told you guys that I was going to talk about my 2006 TIE Interceptor and why Lego used to print lots of blue pieces instead of gray. And there's a few reasons for that. So back in the early days, if you guys remember, it's something that Lego did very commonly. One of the reasons was the grays were actually harder to keep consistent than the blues were. And it also just made it an easier contrast to recognize where to place each piece in the instructions. And you'll see that Lego still follows that principle, especially on the innards of most of these sets where they're very complicated. Lego likes to use bright and contrasting colors in order to make the instructions easier to follow. Now, I know that I've been talking a lot throughout this video and you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing my voice, but I just have one more thought to share with you guys before we reach the end of this build. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about Lego's prices, and I have an upcoming video on that. And in connection with the prices, I've been thinking about their motivations and the effort that they've put in. And I really do think that since the time that I was a kid up till now, Lego's effort has actually gone down. And we see that because the quality of their storytelling with a particular set has gone down as well. And storytelling is kind of a hard concept, somewhat esoteric to explain, but the way that I kind of say is we understand Lego to have good storytelling when we see things like detailed box art and included minifigures and props to go around the set, you know, like whether it's a ladder for the pilot to get into the ship or something like that. And so I've seen how Lego's gotten away from doing that, meaning their storytelling has gone down. And I feel like the Ultimate Collector series especially should have high-level storytelling. It's my personal feeling that they should be set in a specific scene in the movie that we can all remember, and UCS sets should all include at least 4 minifigures. And a mouse droid doesn't count as a minifigure, if you ask me. Alright guys, you can see I finally finished building the Lego UCS TIE Interceptor. So here it is. Alright, this thing is a masterpiece, just fantastic. And there's so many things that I like about it, but I also do have a couple of nitpicks. So first let's just talk about what I like. I loved the design, okay? The technique that goes into this set is just top tier. And the design architect for this set is one of the greatest that Lego has ever had, hands down. Like, he just knocked it out of the park on this set. And like the panel gaps and everything, it's fantastic. The studs, the tiles, they're just all in the right place. It looks amazing. It was just a joy to put together. So much fun, okay? And I could go on and on about that. Now I do have a couple of nitpicks. One is the stand right here. As you can see, the stand's on an angle. The display plaque is also on an angle. And that's nothing new. I mean, that's how sets normally are. Just like you can see the UCS Starship behind me, Jango Fett Slave 1. It's on an angle as well. But I wish that this could be horizontal. You know, because when it's angled, you're looking up, it's looking up at you like this. But if it was head on, you know, straight, on a straight axis, I just think it would look better. And here's the thing. This is such a big set. It's almost guaranteed to be going up on the top shelf, okay? And you put this thing up on the top shelf, with the angle looking up, you're not even going to be able to see the details. You're not even going to be able to see the display plaque. And so I just wish it was on a straight axis, okay? That's really my only nitpick. Like I said, fantastic set. But having built 2 Ultimate Collector Series sets now, I've actually learned something new about myself, okay? I prefer play sets. And if you think about that, it actually makes sense, because I'm a kid who was raised on Lego play sets. That's all that I had. And I just learned to enjoy them. You know, the usability of them, the playability of them, just far exceeds what UCS offers. And I know UCS is for adults, playsets are for, you know, kids. And I just think that playsets is what Lego has really got it right at. And I guess what people want is bigger playsets, and playsets that can interact with each other. All right, we're not all really collectors. I'm not even a collector at heart. Okay, I'm a kid at heart. And the kid wants to play. He wants to see the gimmicks and the features. You know, he wants to see the laser cannons and stud cannons that actually shoot, versus just, you know, boring red studs that sit there and do nothing. So maybe that's just me, but I don't know. I think playsets are just more playable, I guess. And that's what appeals to me. However, this was a fantastic set, and I enjoyed everything about it, okay? So that's it that I've got. That's all that I've got for this video. You guys can let me know what you think about play sets versus UCS sets down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You guys are the very best. And I will see you guys in the next one.